It's crazy. You never know. You can be where you're winning and you're like, why aren't people giving me horses?
Yeah.
And then there'll be times when you're losing, like I wouldn't give myself horses, and people call and give horses.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Off the Track podcast, daily racing form interview series where we go beyond the handicapping and the past performances. This week, two-time Hall of Fame trainer Mark Casse joined us to talk all about winning 4,000 races, some of the all-time great horses that he's been around, becoming the king of Canadian racing, and then expanding back into the United States, winning the Preakness, winning the Belmont, having some tough luck in the Kentucky Derby, and some things that you may not know about Mark Casse. Very excited to be talking with Mr. 4000, Mark Casse, trainer, Hall of Fame trainer, a two-time Hall of Fame trainer, one of only 4 trainers in both the U.S. and Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. Only 14 trainers in history have hit that number, 4,000. Mark Casse is also a 16-time Sovereign Award winner. Mark, I know you're busy. You have so much going on. Have you even had a minute to reflect on some of those numbers and what those might mean to you now?
Yeah, I think those numbers, when they come around, cause lots of reflection, thinking back, to ever have thought that, I would have never dreamed of 4,000 wins. It's hard to believe.
When you're starting out, you've got little goals and stuff, but it's amazing to think, could you have ever imagined like something like that when you're just starting, when you're with your dad, when you're learning how to train, when you're figuring it all out?
My goal when I first started training was to win 20 races a year.
Yeah.
That was my goal.
You hit that one.
Yeah. And then, I always wanted the Hall of Fame. I told my dad when I was 12, we would go and visit the Hall of Fame. I said, I'm going to be in here someday. And as any good father would do, he said, oh, yeah, sure.
Now, I'd imagine for you, you have horses at Woodbine, horses in Kentucky, horses in Florida, New York, horses in California, all over the place. You can't be everywhere at once. For you getting to those 4,000 wins, you have to have an incredible team around you.
We do. I have like 10 people that have been with me 30 plus years. And you're right. It's, I'm really just the captain of the ship. I steer it, but I have a great team behind us that works very hard. And, plus my wife, Tina, I said to somebody the other day, if without her, I'd have 1,500 wins.
Because with most men, right? A strong woman leading the way behind them, and she's your CEO. Is that right?
Right. And, so she takes care of everything, which allows me plenty of time, to train horses. And it's a full time, today is Tuesday, and today's my day off, and I've already fielded probably 20 some issues. There is no day off.
Never with the horses. Some of the people, just to name: Shane, Nick, Alan, Omar, Caden, David, Catherine, Nancy, Sarah, Mitch Downs, Cindy Black, Jimmy Miranda, some of the team that's been around you through the years. And it's got to be really interesting for you to see how things have changed through the years from a training aspect. Because, you're not just a trainer nowadays, right? It's so much more than that. It's knowing what's happening at all the different tracks, talking with owners, sending pictures. Technology has changed a whole heck of a lot, I'm sure, through the years for you. I was reading about how you have really started to embrace that technology with something called a video lameness locator. Just kind of interested in how things have changed for you through the years and how you've been able to embrace the technology and change with it.
Definitely. With all the technology, we've gotten better. I think back over the years and how much smarter and how much better we are today. So my usual day would be, it starts around 5 and I start getting, depending where they're at. Now, Woodbine has lights. So our horses start working I think track opens at 5.
Awesome.
So I start getting videos of horses breezing. Then I get the videos from Churchill, horses breezing. I get horses from Ellis Park breezing, our training center in Ocala. So I view those. Then we have what's called the SLEP app, which we were talking about. We call it the video lameness locator. That's just our own personal. We've been using it now for 4 years, and it's made us so much better because you use this. It takes about a minute. You video it, the horse jogging back and forth twice. This then gets sent to Stockholm, Sweden, and within about 3 or 4 minutes, we get analysis, and it shows what if a horse is off, how much he's off, what leg it is. And then I analyze that too. We have, some of our horses, we have 50 different analysis of that horse. So I can go back and look how this horse was 3 years ago. And
that's amazing.
If I see a drastic change in something, or then we explore, like we'll go and do some more diagnostic things. So that's new, and that's a big deal.
That's something you can't ever imagine when you're starting out with your dad years ago and training, right? That kind of information and how that can help you.
I can, it was crazy. I was thinking about it. One of my fondest moments would be when we were at Saratoga, and everybody would wait for the Daily Racing Form to come out. It would come out downtown at the newsstand. My dad and I would walk there because we had an RV, and he parked it in the Tepin parking lot, and that was just great. We would walk down by the racing form, and then I would read the racing form front to back to front. And so now, we get the racing form 2 hours after entries. When I started, we were going 24-hour entries. Now we're going 7 days.
Yep.
And so, a lot of things have changed. Even, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, sometimes you couldn't watch races.
Yeah.
Now you can watch them
everywhere, anytime, on your phone.
So, lots of things have changed. And most definitely it's made me a better horse trainer as well, because the more information you can get, the better you are. And I think I've learned how it works and how it works for us. And, a lot of people say, well, he's not looking at them every day. I have great people that are my eyes. And when there's an issue, I know it. And they'll be amazed. They'll say something to me, and I said, well, we need to check this or do that. And they'll come back and they'll say, you were right. And that comes from knowledge,
experience. Yep.
You go back in your memory bank and come. But my biggest, I think our strongest deal is recruiting. If you don't have the horses, if you don't have the athletes, you have nothing. And that's where I think that's our strongest attribute is being able to recruit.
You could see the changes when you look at your statistics through the years and your numbers as you start out having good success at Churchill and at Turfway. And then you became a private trainer for a little while, right? You worked and managed a big operation for some of those years in like the early 90s.
Yeah, I quit. I really literally just quit training. I was the general manager for Mockingbird Farm here in Mangarian. We were the leading breeder in North America like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Because that's really my background. My background is breeding business. So that changed. And then what happened was I love Toronto and I love Woodbine, and I was quite content there, doing my thing. And my son Norman, who now is a trainer, he got out of college, kind of really didn't have a real love for horse racing. Smarty Jones got him. He loved
he hooked him.
Got him going. And then he came to me one day and he said, Dad, I want to be a horse trainer. And I said, you do? And he goes, yeah. And so I said, well, we'll start working on that. But he's the one who encouraged me to get back into racing in the US. And that was, I don't know, 20 years ago or so. So it took a while, but you've seen us adapt. I can remember, I don't know how many times I would hear Andy Sterling say, oh, he doesn't win here, he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that. And the reason was because we weren't really geared up for that.
Yeah.
And I learned over a period that for us to do well in the US, one, we need to train over dirt. And so I changed everything. We built a big training center in Ocala, and it's worked well. It's worked really well. And it's why we do so well with our young horses. We get them all ready in the wintertime. I spend the entire winter with them. That's what I do. I have Jimmy Miranda, who you mentioned. He was an ex-rider. He's been in it 40 some years. Mitch Downs has worked for us for 45 years. So the three of us represent about 150 years of experience. And that's who's watching those babies go every day. And that's why you see the success we have.
I actually had the privilege of meeting Norman when Tepin ran at Delta Downs in the Delta Princess before she became Tepin. I was over there covering it for TVG, and Norman, a couple of times I hung out with him when he would go places with your horse. And I was sort of like the new guy on TVG, so I would get sent to some of the smaller tracks, and I got to hang out with him a couple different times. And it was so funny. I remember him saying, we really like this horse. We really think she's going to be a good one. And then, wow, what happened with her? And as you point out, you got to have the good horses. And she was one of those horses that was able to take you places that you probably never imagined. I mean, meeting the queen, right? When you have a horse that's able to take you to those places.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't realize at the time how great Tepin was. Because, it's one thing. I've always said that, when you win like the Breeders' Cup on the turf, you're facing the best in the world. I mean, they would send them over and she would send them back. They come over and she'd beat them. And then, we went over and beat them at their own game, which we've watched many try, and it just
and fail.
Yeah, they've had some success. Obviously, Wesley has sprinting, but to go and beat them going a mile uphill, that just shows you, how great she really was. It's a shame we lost her because she's turned out to be a wonderful broodmare as well.
And through the years, Catch a Glimpse, Tepin, a Classic Empire, World Approval, Shamrock Rose, Wonder Wheel, 6 Breeders' Cup wins, winning the Preakness with War of Will, then coming back 3 weeks later, winning the Belmont with Sir Winston. How about maybe twice having the best horse in the Kentucky Derby and not winning the Kentucky Derby? You've had some big races, some big moments, big horses. Any of those, we talked about Tepin, really stand out to you or memorable moments for you?
Well, obviously Tepin was really, what really stands out? It's crazy, but I think it was our first Queen's Plate, Lexi Lou. Lexi Lou was a little tiny thing. And I can remember Dan Lozelle was the announcer at Woodbine, and it was a huge crowd. And he said, "Here comes Lexi Lou." And he later told me, he said he was, I guess when he watched the race, he would outside. He said the response when he said, "Here comes Lexi Lou," was like no response he had ever heard before. He said the crowd just went. And I think it was because it was a filly. Early on now, the fillies have been doing very well in the Kings and Queens Plate. I mean, there's a reason for that as well. But she was one of the first ones. And so that one stands out to me. Obviously, the win in the Preakness was big. The one that was probably the biggest heartbreaker was Classic Empire in the Preakness, simply because I felt like, and I just watched it the other day for the first time with some friends, and I felt like he was the best horse in the Derby. He got wiped out right at the start, closed ground where nobody was closing. And so I said to everybody, I have the best horse. We're going to go after what's the Derby's winner? Always Dreaming.
There we
I
go.
said, we're going after him in the Preakness. I said,
And
he's not. And so we went after him. And in fact, I listened to the race, and announcer said, and Classic Empire goes right after Always Dreaming. And the problem is, Always Dreaming called it a day about the 3/8 pole. And Classic Empire got on the lead. And if anybody knew Classic Empire, I mean, he could have taken a right-hand turn and quit at the end. And he kind of lost focus, and cloud computing came and got him right at the wire. So that was probably, at the time, definitely the toughest loss.
And for you with that particular horse, that was probably in reading about it and hearing you talk about him, one of your toughest training jobs, kind of getting him ready and focused. As you were pointing out, he wasn't always the best when like mentally. And so for you, probably putting in so much time and effort, getting him to that point, it probably had a little bit of extra meaning for you.
Well, he by far is the most difficult horse we ever trained. First, we had him in the, I can remember sitting with Jose and Irad. And I think they were pretty well tied for the leading rider, and it was the last day. And I'm not a cocky person normally. But I said to Jose, you better get your win before the hopeful, because Irad's going to win the hopeful. That's how much confidence I had in Classic Empire. And they went about 10 jumps, and he took a right-hand turn and dumped Irad. So then we had to go back and get him ready, and he won the Breeders' Futurity. What people don't know is a week before the Breeders' Cup, he couldn't walk. He had a foot abscess. We were lucky to get him to the van to get to the plane, to get him to California. But luckily we worked on it, and so he won the Breeders' Cup. Then we get down in the wintertime at Palm Meadows. Norman has him, and he won't train. He won't go. So we brought him back. You know what we did? We brought him back to Ocala where he started, and we broke him again. We used the same guy, Martin Rivera, started, and we just started from zero. All over. Wow. And he got him going good, and then he went and won the Arkansas Derby, which was that's how talented he was. Nobody really got to see how good he was, because he was so, and he wasn't mean, he wasn't stupid, he was smart as hell. He was too smart for his own good. He learned when he would walk around the shed row, when he got to the tack room, if you didn't give him a mint, he would not go any farther. So you give him a mint, walk a time or two, and then you'd have to give him a. So it wasn't about it. He wasn't ever stupid. He was brilliant.
Owner John Oxley said that when being asked about you, a couple things: you put together a great team of assistants, and that you're awfully good at picking out 2-year-olds and yearlings. Would you agree with that? And what would you say some of your strengths are as a trainer?
My number one strength, without a doubt, is picking out horses.
Yeah.
I've done it since I was a little boy. I can remember 30 years ago, I would have to get 3 people to put up $5,000 each to buy one for 15. I bought, a lot of people don't know, I bought Jambalaya Jazz, who won the Arlington Million. I bought him for $2,500, and my friend Catherine Day was there. And afterwards, she goes, I like that horse, but the vet issues. I said, don't worry about the vet issues. She said, really? I said, you want it? And she said, yeah. So I took mine, signed my name, scratched my name and gave it to her. And she bought him, and he ended up winning, one of the first horses I bought a filly named Financing, available for $5,000. And believe me, at the time, I needed $5,000. That
was a lot.
Yeah. And she went on and won almost $1 million. And so there's lots of those. Classic Q, who just got beat on Saturday, I bought her for my wife and my good friend Hugh Daly for $40,000. So, yeah, that is my strong suit, I believe, and I just don't publicize it. I don't go out every time I have a one. I don't put it
You're not
everywhere.
crowing about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of do my job and go.
And we saw a few different times through your career where your numbers were able to jump up and start more horses, expand a couple different times. Is it when you're just getting the more owners, new owners, you're getting these different horses and opportunities to really grow? Is that what we saw like 2008, 2016, a couple different times in your career where it just seemed like things started to expand?
It's crazy. You never know. You can be where you're winning and you're like, why aren't people giving me horses?
Yeah.
And then there'll be times when you're losing, like I wouldn't give myself horses, and people call and get horses. The crazy thing is, most of the time, probably I'm a little unique in that if somebody that really loves horse racing, even if they have one horse, if they really show me that they love it, I'll take their horse. And we've been very fortunate. We won the stake this weekend for the Glassmans. I have one horse for them, Carl
Wow.
and Kathy Glassman. And, so we take all kinds. And like I said, as long as anybody that loves the horse racing, because I love horse racing, I have my entire life. It's all I've ever done. And I will. So, I'm probably a little unique about that. And sometimes, look, Gary Barber has been very instrumental in our success. I've got a wonderful relationship with Mrs. Weber at Live Oak. And then just recently, DJ Stables, Len and John Green have become big supporters of ours. And they've grown. And I mean, they have quite a stable now. And so I don't know. I don't understand why people send horses when they do. But you just take advantage of it when you can. And I kind of don't get too excited. I just keep going forward.
And talking about some of those owners, we had a new owner, the influencer sensation, Griffin Johnson, who a lot of people were having fun with this year, part owner of Sandman. What was it like for him? He seemed like what we're kind of hoping for in racing, getting some young new people in. He seems to be really excited, and he's kind of like taken to horse racing. What can you tell us about him?
Griffin's a wonderful young man. I've been just so impressed with him. I guess I probably was most impressed the day after the Derby when Sandman, didn't run well. I sat there and watched him. Sandman loves Griffin. He will. Most people go up. He will bite them, try to jump on them. Not Griffin. He loves Griffin. And I sat and watched him for 2 hours, spend time with him when there were no cameras around. And, so Griffin wants to learn about horse racing. Like I said to you, he's a wonderful young man. I'm a better fisherman than he is, but that's another story. I had him come to, he came and visited us at our house and our farm, and I caught a couple bass, and he was doing everything. He couldn't catch anything. And I said, let's face it, Griffin, I'm a better fisherman. He's admitted to it as well.
Still got a few things to learn, young man. I've got you there, right?
Yes.
So how does a guy from Indiana become the king of Canadian racing? How do you get up there and you stay up at Woodbine and you become so successful up there?
That's a great question. I guess in the 80s, I was leading trainer in Kentucky at Turfway, at Churchill Downs. But it was a very frustrating circuit. It's not like it is now. What would happen is if you went to Churchill, then you couldn't get into Arlington. You had to be at Arlington earlier than Churchill closed. Ellis Park was not Ellis Park. Ellis Park is, you know, what Ellis Park has become is just amazing.
Unbelievable.
And you know, Kentucky
Turfway
deserves
too. Yeah.
yeah, Kentucky deserves so much credit for what they've done. I mean, so I went to so it was the end of the Churchill meet, and I had 5 or 6 pretty good turf horses, and I'd been introduced to Canadian racing by my father. My dad loved Woodbine. I went to Woodbine when I was 12 years old with my dad, and so I said, you know what, I'm gonna go up there, and I took like 8 horses up, and I never left.
It's amazing. And you have praised the facility, how it's a nice place to develop a horse or bring back an old veteran horse that you've talked about a few different times. And you've really been a champion for synthetic surfaces. Honestly, what can you kind of tell us, being one of the probably leading trainers in history running horses on synthetic surfaces, how they play differently? You're kind of hitting on that a little bit, how when you came down and really expanded more into the US, you had to sort of change things up and get onto the dirt. But as far as the surfaces and how they work overall and your developing of horses.
Well, there's no question that the Tepita is kinder to the horse. They enjoy it more. They bounce over it. The problem is that that's fine when you're running over synthetic, but trying to get them ready to run over dirt is a little more difficult. It's so kind that they just don't get the, you know, Tepita gives back when it actually, when you hit on it, it gives a little pushback, where when you run on dirt, it's more solid. And so you'll see me bring my older horses back off of long layoffs and stuff on Tepita, because they don't have to train as hard. A horse that if you were going to run them on dirt that would maybe need 12 or 14 works can run with 6 works or 7 works. And so that's good. Woodbine has about as good a training facilities that there is anywhere in North America. We have one of the best turf courses. We have synthetic. We have a dirt course. We have a training turf course. And you know what else we have? We have beautiful weather from about May till November, where it gets cool in the morning. Horses love it. That's why horses love Saratoga. It cools off in the morning, at night, and then, you know, we'll get a little hot during the day.
We're talking with you a few weeks before the King's Plate comes up, and you just won the Woodbine Oaks for a record-tying 5th time. You've won that King's Plate a few different times, 3 times, a couple times with the filly. Compare and contrast for those of us who've never been to the King's Plate, or for those who maybe just follow American racing a little bit more. What is it like different than the Kentucky Derby, which we know, big race for the 3-year-olds down here? You get the pomp, you get the circumstance. How are they maybe alike or different?
Well, King's Plate's been running longer than the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think so. At least,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it has. It's been running longer. It's a big deal in Canada. I mean, everybody sees it. I know, like when Lexi Liu won the Queen's Plate, we were in the airport and there were like 3 or 4 different TV stations going, and she was on every one of them. I mean, it's kind of a national, there's a lot of tradition there. And so it's big. It's very big.
As we sit right now, No Time just won the Woodbine Oaks. It will be the plan for her to head to the King's Plate?
It is, yes. She ran very well. She's a really well-bred filly. She's by Not This Time, who is one of the best sires in the world. She's a 1/2 to 2 Grade 1 winners. And she's a filly that just was a little bit late developing, but came around. I thought Johnny gave her a great ride in the Oaks, and he said when he asked her to go, she exploded. So I don't think 1.25 miles will be a problem. She's getting better, and the fillies have had a lot of success recently in the King's Plate and Queen's Plate. I keep calling it. It took me forever.
I was going to say
forever to say King's Plate. Now I can't say Queen's Plate.
Now we can't go back and forth. It was a family affair for you from the start. How would you say you are different from your father? And how would you say your son, Norman, who's now on his own and he's been very successful so far, how would you say he might be different from you?
Well, my father really wasn't much of a horse trainer. He only trained a few, and he kind of did it as a afterthought, really.
Mm-hmm.
I probably learned more not to do from my dad than what to do, to be honest. My dad loved horse racing, and I learned a lot from him. I learned the business part, the communication. Being a horse trainer and being successful is a lot of different things, and one of them is being able to communicate with your owners, being able to get them to believe in you and give you those horses. And if you don't have that, then you're in trouble. I have Mr. Mangarian, Harry Mangarian, who's long been gone, but he was probably the smartest guy ever was around. He said, Mark, horse racing winning is nice, but he said, you want to be around somebody that you enjoy being around and travel, making this journey fun.
Yeah.
And I've never forgot that. Most of the people that I train for are my friends. I mean, we talk constantly, and we just a lot of times it's not about horses, and so that's important. My son Norman comes from a younger generation. Him and I don't agree on a lot of things. I'm more, and we would fight over it, to be honest. He wants to crank them up and win first time and do that. And he wants to be more aggressive early. I'm more of a, if it takes them 3 or 4 times to break their maiden, I'm fine with that. So we disagree on that. But I also think the older Norman gets, he realizes a couple years ago, he said to me, maybe it was not even 2 years ago, a year ago, he said, I'm sorry, Dad. And I said, what are you sorry for? And he goes, all the things I put you through.
A blanket, sorry.
He said, I get it now.
Not easy. Not easy being the head honcho, making all the decisions, right? Talking to all the people, like you said.
It's easy. It's easy. You see it in all, so many people. I laugh a lot of times when you look, and a good example is, oh, well, this rider's riding this horse, or he's not riding and this horse and that. There's so much more that goes behind the scene. This is not a one race. This is a relationship that goes on for a long time. We just saw it where, unfortunately, the horse is not going to run. He was fatally injured of Tom Amos's running on Saturday. And there was a lot said about Jose was riding him over Ewing. Well, that had nothing to do. What happened was they came to me, his agent, and said, look, Tom's going there. And so we got to make a decision. I said, I'll make the decision pretty easy for you. I said, if I can have IRAD, I'm fine. You let Jose ride, the other horse, and we'll go with Jose, with IRAD. Well, I read, that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with it. It's we face these decisions hundreds of times a year, and so it's more than one race. It's a body of work, and I think a lot of people don't get it or understand it. You'll see, I'm a pretty loyal guy. Patrick Husbands has won over 1,000 races for me. He's kind of my go-to guy in Canada, and so it's about relationships. I don't get excited when one rider rides a bad race. We talk about it and say, okay, well, we'll try to do better, and you won't hardly ever see me get upset over a ride or losing a race.
This is a relationship that you're going to need something from that person at some point. You have so many horses around. There's going to be a time you don't want to burn any bridge. You can have an adult conversation with someone, talk about it, how we can be better moving forward, but it doesn't need to be that way.
I can remember, this goes back a long time, and Alan Jerkins said to me, that rider rides better for you than he rides for me. And why? And I said, it's pretty simple, Alan. Because if anybody knew Alan, he was crazy. If he lost a race, he would throw buckets, he would scream, would yell. And I said, you know why that rider rides better for me, Alan? And I said, because when he's riding that horse, he's worried about what you're going to say and do after the race. When they ride for me, they know whatever decision they make, I'm going to be okay with it. And we'll move on from there. And to me, that makes riders ride better for me. I don't give instructions. I seldom ever give instructions. And whatever happens, I figure if I need to give instructions, then I'm riding the wrong rider.
We were very lucky to get 30, 45 minutes from you. Your phone's ringing. You're very busy. When you get those small time periods like today, like a Tuesday, when you're maybe not at the barn, where might we find you? Golfing, fishing, those types of things?
I do like to play golf. This is tough at Saratoga. I get to play a few times. When I'm in Ocala, I've got a golf simulator. So I sent my son, I had a hole-in-one at 4:20 in the morning, and I'm texting a picture of it to my son Colby. So I usually try to play. When I'm in Ocala, I usually play 18 holes on the golf simulator. Start at 4:00 in the morning, and then I built 2 big ponds in our front yard, so I can go out and bass fish. So my morning, I'll get up around 4. I'll play 18 holes. I'll then make breakfast for my wife. I'll go out, cast fish for about 5 minutes, and then I go to the barn. I was laughing because I saw it listed yesterday. They said the average commute is something like 25 or 30 minutes. My commute is 2 minutes by foot.
Not far to go. Do you follow any sports teams?
No, not really. My dad always said if it doesn't win, he knows nothing about it. I do watch. I'm a Scotty Scheffler fan. I do watch some golf when I can. Big
winning day. What are we having for a celebration meal?
We may, when we run late, we'll go and eat. My wife and I will go eat. We're not much of celebrating. I'm usually, when I win, I'm already trying to figure out what we're doing next. I should probably enjoy the wins more than I do. But when we have a big day of racing, I usually don't sleep very well because I lay in bed, think about where we're going next. My best sleep days are when we lose.
MarkCasse.com if we want to get in contact with you. Before we let you go, what's something that you don't think a lot of people know about Mark Casse? If we just see your name in the paper all the time, what's something that you don't think we quite know about you as a person?
I'm a huge animal lover. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've had pet raccoons. We have ducks. We just love, my wife and I. I've been out. I saw a little bunny. I wanted to catch. We love all kinds of animals, and so that would be one. I do play chess a little bit, and I enjoy golf, but I'm really kind of a simple guy, and I'm not my life and my business and racing is enough excitement for me. I need the rest. When that's not going on, I rest.
Mr. 4000, 2-time Hall of Fame trainer, Mark Casse. Mark, thank you so much for taking some time with us. We know you're busy, and we hope you have a great rest of the meet at Saratoga. Good luck in the King's Plate, and we hope to talk to you again real soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Off the Track podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Amazon, Audible, Spotify, and on YouTube. We'd always love to hear from you in the comments section. Make sure you're tuning in next week for another very special guest.